Okay, well, welcome everybody. This is Noel Lyons of Well Coach Co UK. I'm delighted to present the next teacher in the 3-day coaching series, and it's Stephen Holt. And today's presentation is More in 24, What Everyone Ought to Know About Peak Productivity. And for those of you who don't know Stephen, there are very few of you, he's a former ACE Personal Trainer of the Year. He was called one of America's greatest trainers by Men's Fitness, and he's written for a whole number of national magazines. Welcome, Stephen.
No, it's. Oh, I was about to say it's great to meet you, but you know what I mean. It's great to talk to you in person. It's been many, many years that we've known each other, and it's the first time we've actually gotten the time to sit down and talk. This is great.
And you were actually saying too, we're actually co-authors, aren't we, Stephen? Going back to about 2003, 2004.
Yeah, unbelievably, I just found that out today. Power Champions, long time ago.
And that was Phil Kaplan put a number, probably about 50, 52 personal trainers together.
Yeah,
We each wrote a chapter.
Like yeah.
Yeah. So, and
big project.
Yeah, and I guess the other thing too is you're a former systems engineer, so you're very much a systems thinker.
Yeah, back in the old days, I worked at General Motors. I have a mechanical engineering degree from Duke, and I was at General Motors for a very short time. I was in charge of what most people would call efficiency control. Well, not in charge of the entire General Motors, but in charge of our plant. And my job was to find the most efficient way to do absolutely everything.
And you've been doing that ever since, even in your training programs.
Yeah, I've carried that over to training.
Of course. So this should be good. So let's go straight in. Why are people struggling?
All right. I misled you a little bit with my bullet points.
Okay.
When I
good.
When I came up with those bullet points, I was thinking to myself, I'm going to make the most comprehensive time management presentation ever.
Okay.
And in the meantime, I realized
you're going to Get It Done, the classic by is it Dave Allen? Was it the classic?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a little bit of David Allen today.
Okay.
But when I was going through my outline, I thought, I'm being a big hypocrite. People are listening to this because they think they don't have enough time in their day.
Okay.
I can't inundate them with every single thing I know about time management. So we're going to focus on one technology today, but I do promise to cover all of the bullet points. I have them in front of me.
Excellent. And this is you walking your talk, because you're actually a father too, aren't you, of 2 young girls?
Yes, and a very busy wife. My wife is a physician.
Right.
And she works about 80 hours a week on a slow week.
Right. So this is perfect. It's not rehearsed. I have no idea where this is going.
Oh, it is not rehearsed.
You're going to talk about how you get it all done, given all that you do, and yet what you still manage to achieve. Perfect.
All right, back to bullet points.
Okay.
We're going to start with number 3.
Okay.
And 4 and get them out of the way in about 1 minute.
Okay.
Number 3 said how staying in bed for an extra 5 minutes during the simple activity you're already doing can relieve stress and make you extra productive the rest of the day. All we're doing here is visualizing your day for 5 minutes before you get up and out of bed. Technically, we call that setting intentions, or if you're new agey like I tend to be sometimes, we call it segmental intending.
Wow.
You want to go through absolutely the most important part of your day in your head before you get up and out of bed.
And so that's literally just replay the whole day ahead of you?
Yeah, and you want to make it positive as is believable for you. What most people do is that they wake up and they sit in bed for 5 minutes thinking of the most horrible things that could possibly happen. Oh, no, I have to do this. Oh, I have to go to work. Oh, so-and-so is going to talk my head off. This will be another miserable day at work. So what you want to do is the exact opposite. Think of all the great things that could happen to you during that day.
Excellent.
So that's just 5 minutes getting your day off to the greatest start ever.
And is that setting like 3 big achievements for the day as well?
They don't even have to be big. It's nice if you can think about the big thing you want to do that day, but you can think about small things, whatever makes you happy. A lot of people wake up and they think about their goals, and then their goals become stressful. Every once in a while, people set goals that they think are a little too big, and they're striving to reach their goals instead of happily reaching their goals. So the main key is to stay happy. You don't want to introduce undue stress into your life ever.
Exactly. So if you have got a really horrible day ahead of you, any tips for pre-preparing yourself for that?
There's always something positive about it.
Okay.
Always, always, always. Last week, you know this, I went through a pretty horrible week. We had no power for 6 days.
This is Hurricane Irene that came
Yes.
in, and yeah, okay.
And I did my best to keep everyone around me positive because it's just part of my nature to focus on what's positive.
Yep.
And I spent my time being grateful for the power that we did have. I had power at work. I was grateful for that. All the traffic lights in my neighborhood still worked, thank goodness, or else there would be horrible, horrible accidents. I was grateful for that. We have 80-foot trees about 20 feet away from my house.
Wow.
Still standing. I'm grateful for that. There's so much more to be grateful. People spend far too much time being picky and negative about things. There's no reason to do that. Absolutely none.
So that's grateful as an attitude, isn't it? And the more you can stay in that state, the more it seems positive things happen in your life.
I don't see how it could be any other way. There's no reason to be negative. It just makes you feel bad. Why would you want to feel bad? It makes no sense to me. Do what makes you happy.
Exactly. You're out and about. It's another day, isn't it? It's another chance to make stuff happen. And there was a great story too. You said that one side of the street had power and the other didn't, and that they were feeding lead generators off to the other side of the street.
Yeah, that was great. That made me happy.
Yeah.
Helping each other out.
And that's being, positive, being grateful, and it just leads to something bigger and better then, doesn't it? Because that's going to stay in people's minds for some time.
Yeah, yeah. In fact, the day before the hurricane, of course, we knew it was coming.
Yep.
I just felt this sense of community with everyone because everyone around you was in the same boat, pardon the pun.
Yeah. They say that about wars. Suicide goes down in wars because people come together. There's you versus them. There's that solidarity.
Right. People come together in the most horrible times. And that makes the most horrible times less horrible.
So did you spend just 5 minutes in bed that morning when it came in, or?
Actually, I spent most of the night just freaking out, hoping my sump keep working.
Right, okay. So that's contingency planning too then, isn't it? It's looking ahead.
Yeah. There's always a backup plan.
Of course. Plan B, plan C.
Yeah.
Okay. But it is a great principle, isn't it? If you can actually just spend the start of your day, each day, just looking ahead at that day.
Yeah.
And
start it off positively.
Yeah. I don't know if you visited many Arab countries, but if you ever go shopping, always be their first sale of the day, because they want to get that first sale out of the way. It's part of their culture.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and so if it's you can get a bargain because they're just happy to get that first sale because that sets them up in their mind for the rest of the day.
That's great. I like that.
Yeah. Just a little haggling tip there for travellers listening. Okay. So that's that one. And then do you replay it back at the end of the day at all? Or do you just get on to the next?
It's not necessary, but what I do, well, I'll tell you everything I do. I have a gratitude journal app on my iPhone.
Okay.
And I write down what I'm grateful for every single day. Haven't missed a day since I got my phone. That was over a year ago.
Okay. And what sort of things do you report?
Just anything that pops into my mind.
So absolutely everything, yeah? Just like, and it could be anything, literally, yeah? Whatever captures your imagination.
Yeah, I'm trying to call it out right now. I'm so slow with my phone. It does too many things. Obviously, I typically write down, I'm grateful for my family, grateful for safety and peace in my house.
Yep, and it's achievements that they're doing in their daily life, however small.
Yeah,
you're all
just
part of
little
you're all part of a big team effort, aren't you? Really?
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I write down. Let me see. The other day, I wrote down, I'm grateful for QuickBooks because I'm old enough to have done this stuff by hand once upon a time.
Okay. And a quick overview of QuickBooks, because I'm not using
Oh,
that.
I'm sorry. It's just an accounting software program.
Okay.
It saves me a whole bunch of time.
Yep.
And it just felt extra grateful for it that day.
Yep. And do it as you go.
Yeah. You're just bringing back the old days of handwriting things in a ledger. It's freaking me out.
Right.
That was brutal.
Yeah. And so you keep a journal too, alongside this, recording like your thoughts, your feelings, and even your vision. You know where you're going, because
I'm not enough. I know I'm supposed to.
Okay, because that is a great practice, isn't it? Just for developing self-awareness, and the more self-aware we are, the less sort of trauma we cause in our own lives, because we know what to look out for, what not to, and whether we're learning our lessons each day or whether we need to keep learning the lessons as we go along.
Yep. I agree. I have a journal. It sits there, but at least I've started it at some point in my life.
Yeah, and I guess Facebook has kind of taken over for many people because they're, some are pretty open with their thoughts and feelings.
Yes, they are. Unfortunately, sometimes.
Yeah.
It's more than I want to know.
Everybody's got their own strategy. It's,
Yeah.
So, okay.
All right.
Should we move on to number 4 then, which was...
Bullet point number 4. Number 4 is...
An effortless thing in 10 minutes that was going to add 30 minutes of productivity, a 3-to-1 ratio.
Yeah, and that one we're just talking about simple meditation. A study showed that if you meditate for only 10 minutes, you add 30 minutes of productivity to your day. You're just more focused on whatever you're trying to do in your day.
That's because generally we're just taking too much information in full stop, aren't we? We're just bombarded throughout the day. And
it's great to take a break. People fight this, but it's been proven over and over. You take a break, and that makes you more productive when you come back from the break.
Yeah. So how do you meditate, Stephen? Because there's many ways to do this.
I use a program called Centerpoint.
Okay.
You can find it easily on the internet.
Yes, Bill Harris. I've used this myself.
Yeah, it's been so many years I've forgotten. But I listen to that just about every day.
Yep. And they're still doing the basic 30 minutes because they have different levels. And they claim that after some time you can go to deeper levels. But essentially it's entrainment or holistic technology for those not familiar. And you've got to listen through stereo headphones.
Yes.
But it's very passive meditation, which I like.
Yes, it is. Thank goodness.
Yeah, you literally just put it on.
Yeah, I'm a little too Western, and I couldn't do the traditional meditation. Yeah. I'm sorry I interrupted you, Noel.
No. Hey, this is your call, so take us away. So, so how long have you been doing it, and what sort of results have you had? It sounds like a testimonial now.
Oh, it's been a good 10 years, I'm sure.
Yeah, and is it just the process of just literally taking 30 minutes aside? Because, I've spoken to a lot of people about this, and they almost say there's like a placebo effect. If you believe it, it works.
Yeah.
You see it will work. But it's more the fact that you're just taking 30 minutes out is the real value. Although Centerpoint would argue massively against that.
Yes. You know what? I'm going to drop a name, and he and I kid each other about dropping names. One of our co-authors, Joe Stankowski, always says placebo effect is still effect.
I agree. Yeah,
so it doesn't matter if it's just a placebo effect. If it does what you need it to do, then just keep going with it.
Yeah.
I just need my relaxation.
Yep.
I don't even make it through 30 minutes. 20 minutes, 15 minutes is enough for me.
Yeah, I've actually fallen asleep too before. You just put it on
I
for
do it
30
all the
minutes.
time.
Yeah, because it's almost addictive. You hear it, and if you've done it often enough, you can just go straight into that relaxation state.
Yeah,
Um,
which they don't recommend, by the way.
which
But
they don't recommend. They say you've got too much on in your life, but you probably need it most. So,
yeah.
do you think about anything whilst you're listening to the music?
Yeah, again, I'm so Western. I have issues turning my mind off the way they want you to.
Okay. But that works for you because you can clarify your thoughts on those issues as you sit there for 30 minutes?
I've convinced myself that it works for me, yes.
Okay. Have you tried it with exercise? Have you tried it with exercise, Stephen?
No!
They don't recommend this, but I've actually sat on a bike and I listened to it, and I believe there's like a double effect, or certainly a...
Oh, on a bike, yeah, I could see that working really well for some people.
Yeah, because basically it just takes the brain into a different wave state, essentially, doesn't it? Which is the main plan. Which is the real value.
And cycling is rhythmic in itself, so that's a good thing.
Yeah. So, okay. And so you've actually, so as a systems engineer, you've actually worked out you can do this for 10 minutes and you'll get 30 minutes more in your day?
Oh, yeah, yeah. It's so important to take breaks. Most people who have issues with time management think they have to work. It's the same issue with exercise. I bring this up with a lot of my clients. Most of my clients are type A personalities.
Yep.
And they want to work all the time. And I say, I have to remind them that taking the break is as important as doing the work. They don't want to rest during their exercise. Oof.
Yeah. And particularly
I'm thinking of someone in particular.
Okay. And it's an old work ethic too, isn't it, really? That
Yes.
no longer really applies today. Because, it used to be true that you had this job for life. If you work hard enough, you'll do very well. You'll work your way up. It's kind of ingrained in all of us because this is what our parents taught us.
Correct.
And yet in today's inspiration age, as they call it, and it's called different things, it really is much more about creativity and imagination. And
right.
You don't get that if you're working your socks off.
Exactly. You get the opposite.
And this sort of rock star culture that, we're here to entertain as well as inform. You don't get that if you're just working your socks off.
Right. Got to take a break.
Okay. So this is your summary. It's like pre-plan your day and take a break somewhere in between as part of an overall strategy. Yeah.
Technically, you should work for no more than 50 minutes in a row before you take a break.
And again, that's proven, isn't it? Because the body works in cycles. And, I've heard 90 minutes too, that, it's kind of up, then it's down, then it's up. It does fluctuate throughout the biorhythmic cycles throughout the day.
Right.
And we know this.
I've written it down.
Yeah, you know this.
It's called ultradian rhythms.
There you go. And we know this because if you train hard and then you eat, you almost want like a siesta afterwards.
Yeah.
And yet if you've just done that in your lunch hour, then you eat, then you go back to work, that's that post-afternoon drowsiness that so many experience.
Exactly.
And that's fighting the name you just gave it again?
Ultradian rhythm.
Fantastic.
It's just a shorter version of the circadian rhythm.
Okay.
Circadian is 24 hours, and ultradian is anything that's shorter.
Okay. And this is where you can actually set like a clock, or there's different software programs, and you literally work on one project and one project only for that allocated time, and then you get up and take a break afterwards.
Exactly. The most important gizmo you can have in terms of time management is a timer.
There you go. Okay. And then even your fifth bullet point, I'm guessing, the one word, the greatest time saver of all time?
Oh, I was going to save that for last for dramatic effect. We can cover it right now.
Well,
simple word is no.
Got it. Now, how do we say no and still be nice?
That's hard. That's the hard part. You have to explain to the people around you that your time is important the same way that you respect their time. And every once in a while, you have to say no to stay honest with the values you've set. So you want to run your life a certain way, you have to say no to certain things. You can't do every project that comes before you. Because starting a new project always means giving up something else.
And this whole idea of projects is that we literally should arrange our to-do list into a series of projects. Yes?
Yes, agreed. I was going to stay away. Go ahead.
No, because I know this is natural for you, but you and I both know it's not natural for many others out there. They don't think this way. They've got this massive to-do list to get through each day. And
yeah, that's a big problem.
And this is where multitasking has arisen from. And, you know, you could argue...
Which we know doesn't work.
And yet some people say, yes, we can. But traditional time management, you know, such as Dave Allen, yourself, we need to break everything down into a series of projects and then literally to pre-plan our day and then to look back as to how far we got through each one.
Yeah, what I like to do with most people is just simplify everything. Hold on, I'm looking at my bullet points and seeing which one we're looking at. Okay, this kind of covers number 2.
Yes.
What you must do before you set any goal.
Yep.
The number 1 thing you have to do is align your values with your actions. And that's the first thing you need to do before you set a goal. The issue with people who have issues with time management is that they're saying that they want to accomplish one thing with their life, but their actions are saying that something else, something minor, is more important. Prime example, the example we're using in general today is finding time to exercise.
Yep.
If you say you don't have time to exercise, you know darn well that there are other people who are somehow found time to exercise in the same 24-hour period. So the real issue is that you're spending your time doing something else that is not congruent with your so-called desire to exercise.
Yeah.
You're wasting your time doing something that you're claiming is not important to you.
Yeah, and that's a great point, isn't it? That your actions will reveal your true values, and if you haven't, you know, actually worked out what your real values are, if that makes sense.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it's this idea that obviously it's 24 hours in a day. If you sleep for 8, you're up for 16. You work for so many. You know, what are you doing with the rest of those hours? And so it's often helpful, isn't it, just to break those down for people and actually show them what they are doing with those hours. And
again, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go on, Stephen.
That's when you break out your timer. I ask people to take at least one day and time everything. And write it down in a logbook. Time everything you do.
Yeah, and that, you know, people don't want to do that, and yet it's
of course not.
And it's so revealing, isn't it? And the people who don't want to perhaps need it the most.
Exactly.
Okay, so do you have like a values exercise that you take your clients through to find out what's really important to them?
I should, but I get, frankly, between you and me, I get uncomfortable really pushing people about their values.
Yeah, it takes time. You have to know a client for some time.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, I understand that. Okay.
Oh, I want to throw in my big Emerson quote. You know this, I'm sure.
Okay.
I remind my clients of this all the time. What you do speaks so loudly I cannot hear what you say. It's one of my favorite quotes from Emerson. Your actions, you just said it, your actions reveal your true values. If you're spending a lot of time watching TV and you're not exercising, you're saying, I value TV more than I value exercise.
Yeah.
So in order to be happy, at some level, you have to make those two things congruent. You have to decide that, hey, TV isn't all that important. I really do value my health. Or what some people do is the exact opposite. They realize that, hey, for some reason, I find TV important and my health is not important, and that's fine with me.
Sure. Or get yourself an exercise bike and watch your soaps.
You can do both.
Yeah,
it's doable, yes.
Yeah. But the point there is you're being driven, whether you realise it or not. So far more effective is to actually, first of all, work out what's driving you, e.g. your values.
Right.
It makes more sense to have a more proactive rather than a reactive approach to living.
Exactly. What I ask people to do is figure this out for themselves. I don't make them share it with me, but I ask them over and over, have you done your values? Have you done your values? Have you done your values? It's just between you and yourself. No one else has to know. But you have to figure out what's important to you.
I like that. And so in your bullet point, you say you miss out on this and you're adding stress to your life because you really are, aren't you?
Yeah, it's called cognitive dissonance.
Yep.
And that's the struggle and the stress that you feel when your values don't agree with your actions.
Yep. And it's when you're not getting the results you want in life because you're out of integrity or out of congruence, as you called it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because everything is cause and effect. Depends how deep we want to go, really, doesn't it? Okay, so we're getting there. We're doing pretty good. So perhaps going back to that point one, because we're pretty much there, Stephen. The science behind why people have struggled before and how to use that same science to eliminate struggling. What was the main theme behind that?
Oh, exactly that. Cognitive dissonance is the science behind why you feel stressed and why you feel like you're struggling. Once you align your values with your actions, the stress and the struggle will go away.
And does that come back to having like a vision for your life, like a bigger picture? That you're not just on this treadmill each week, going to work, spending time with the family.
Yeah, you have to sit down and figure out what's important to you and why it's important. In fact, it takes us to the main content. What I want to go over today is a strategy and a technique you can use for anything. Specifically today, we're talking about time management, obviously, but it's called the Change Anything Technique, and you can find out all about it at cleverlychangeanything.com.
Okay. You said you like to keep it simple, so change...
This is simple. You can use this with absolutely anything.
Yeah, no, I was talking about the name, Change Anything. It's good.
Yeah.
So do people have to go there, or are you going to do that now with them?
Nope, we're doing it right now.
Fantastic.
So they're basically 3 steps, 2 simple steps, and 1 long involved step that we'll go through.
Okay.
Step number 1, well, this is like a pre-step. Figure out the general result you're looking for. In this case, we're trying to find time to exercise. Then you get a little bit more specific about that. You find out what the exact issue is. For example, you're watching too much TV. You want to watch less TV. So that will be our result. We're going to watch 1 hour less of TV each day.
Or the other one is that people are too tired, which generally is a catch-22, because once you start being a little bit more active, you have more energy.
Exactly. Result. Well, that usually takes a little speech about mitochondria and ATP. I was having a mental block.
Okay.
Once they get through that speech, then they're on board.
And mitochondria, for those not in the know, they're the little energy houses inside the cells where the oxygen exchange takes place during exercise.
Yes.
And they multiply in both size and number through regular, particularly aerobic exercise.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like cooking pots on a stove, isn't it? That the more pots on the stove, the more you've got going on. And that's the long-term effect of appropriate training. And it's naturally why active people have more energy.
Yeah, exactly. When you're too tired too tired to exercise, that's when you need to exercise.
Exactly. I think the ATP cycle will be taking it a bit too far, so we're still.
No, I just explained it's like gas in a tank.
Yeah.
And that's all I know about ATP.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So
All you need to know.
Okay.
All right, step one, once we have the specific result we're looking for, you want to determine your what they call the vital behavior. And that's the action you need to get to your goal. So in this case, the result we're looking for is watching less TV. The action we need is to somehow get away from the TV. And we'll clear that up in the next part. Step two, after we establish the vital behavior, we establish what they call critical moments. And that's the exact trigger that makes you lapse away from your specified goal. So you're saying your goal is to watch less TV. Your trigger may be that after dinner, you typically sit down in a special chair that you like, and you reach for the remote control and you turn on TV without really thinking about it. And then you're stuck there for 2-3 hours.
Yeah, habit.
Yeah, any bad habit will have an exact trigger.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's hard for people to find. So you have to think this through. Again, if you look in your logbook and you use your timer, it can help you figure out what the exact trigger is. Step 3 is you have to go through what they call the 6 sources of influence. And there are studies at MIT showing, a fancy American university, by the way.
Okay. Thanks for that for us European listeners.
There are studies showing that going through all 6 of these and solving each little problem here will result in 10 times the results. I was redundant there. You get 10 times the results by going through all 6 of these. Does that make sense?
Sounds good. That's a good return.
Okay. Now, I want you to take out a piece of paper, and we're going to make 6 boxes, 2 columns, 3 rows. Across the top, we're going to write above one column the word motivation. In the second column, we're writing ability. Now your 3 rows. One will be called personal. Second is social. And the third is environmental. So we'll go through each box one by one. Top box on your left is personal motivation. Are you with me?
Yeah, I'm writing these down.
Am I making sense?
Yeah.
Good. Personal motivation is where you write down why you want to do what it is you want to do, or the converse, why you want to stop doing what you want to stop doing.
And is that internal or external?
This is internal.
Right, so it's what's driving you to do what you're doing, which in this case is exercise and not watch TV.
Yes, you write down all the good points, and then you write down the bad points, what will happen if you don't change. And technically, that's called your default future, or what happens to you if you don't change.
Yeah, and that's the cost of not taking action.
Yes, perfect. Perfectly put. Next up, top right will be personal ability. Whenever you change anything important in your life, you have to learn new skills. So in this column, we're doing whatever it takes to learn what we need to learn to help this change go forward. Learning new skills. Next up, we're looking at social motivation. You have to get your friends on your side or get new friends, frankly.
Right. How do you cope with that if people really are mixing with the wrong people?
We do have a forum where we talk about that, and I haven't had a client who's had serious issues with that. They say, at least.
Right, they take it as granted. It's something they've got to do if this is what they're going to do.
Yeah, you have to realize that someone, a so-called friend who doesn't support you is not your true friend.
If your values are in alignment with your actions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I know it's hard. It has to be hard. There's no way around it, but you have to find new friends. You have to be around people who support you, and there's no reason to stay around people who bring you down.
Totally agree.
Next up, social ability. You have to get help, information, and all the support that you need to reach your goal.
And is that when you relapse, these triggers happen and you go backwards? That's getting sort of, community support, even online support with that?
Yes, any support you can get.
Okay.
Always helps. Oh, you brought up a great point. One of the great lines I love in the Change Anything book is you turn bad days into good data. So whenever you lapse, it's because there's something wrong with your plan. Well, not wrong, but something not optimal in your plan, and you change your plan. One of the principles of neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, is that you're always doing the best you can do with the information you have. So there's never, ever a reason to go back and beat yourself up about anything because you absolutely did the best that you could do. What you do from then on is take that information and improve your plan so it doesn't happen again.
And that goes back to the support, doesn't it?
Yes, of course.
An objective third opinion.
A third opinion will always help. Sociability also includes getting a coach. If you're serious about anything, it always saves you time to just hire a coach. But it's easy for me to say that. That's my job.
Yeah, and it's what we do too, to get where we are. Yeah?
Exactly.
So.
Next up, environmental motivation. This simply means you add visual cues to help you reach your goals. In most cases, it's a Post-it note or something like a vision board. You have little reminders set up wherever you can to help you focus on your goals. I personally use a program called Toodle Do, actually. It's TOODLEDO.com. And you can set it up so that it sends text messages to you throughout the day if you want to remind you to stay focused on your goals.
Okay.
Next and last is environmental ability. You want to mold your environment to help you support your goals. So in a case of watching TV, you may want to hide the remote, for example. Or some people unplug the TV so it gives them a few seconds to think about if they really want to watch TV now. It can be
and another really good one with the food is to take off all the labels and all the wrappers and put it into plain containers, which I know for some people we're going too far, but the marketing today is so clever with all their different colours and slogans, etc., that if you've got that sitting around, you're more likely to go there and eat. But when it's just plain, it's just not the same stimulus.
I didn't know that one, Noel. That's good.
I think that was from the Learn program. Do you remember that out of Dallas, Texas? That was.
No, I don't remember that one.
That was one of theirs.
Oh, you know all kinds of stuff I don't know.
Well, you do too, Stephen, so that's why we're talking.
Wow, that's a great one.
Yeah, no, it's actually effective. I've used that with a lot of people, and it certainly does work. I mean, the resistance is people don't want to take it out all the bright coloured wrappers. But
yeah, I'm going to do it with my kids today, Noel.
Okay, especially children, yeah. So, but if it's tripping people up, it does make a difference.
Yeah, I have a personal issue with my kids eating cookies. I would never ever go out and buy cookies on my own, but when they're sitting there in my face, they look really good.
Yep.
Irresistibly good.
And that's another big one, isn't it? That, children, they can get away with that sort of food, but as a parent, you don't want to have that food in front of you.
Yeah, you just get it out of your face and you never think about it.
There you go. That's simple. Yeah.
All right, let's go through an example.
Yeah. So let's just quickly repeat that. So we've got motivation and ability at the top, and down the left-hand side we've got the personal, the social, and environmental.
Yes. So you should have 6 blocks.
Yeah, and so under the motivation, you've got your why for the personal, the friends for the social, and then the visual cues for the environmental.
Mm-hmm.
And then under the ability, you've got your skill set for the personal, which psychologists call efficacy. As such,
Yes.
they talk a lot about self-efficacy. And then you got the social, and we spoke about the support, and then the environmental, exactly as you said before. You mentioned like TV and the remote. I mentioned the food, and you mentioned your children too. So let's do a specific example.
Alrighty. Name anything. Something you want to change.
Something you want to change.
What do your clients say to you?
Yeah. I think a lot of clients want to go across to a more vegetarian, plant-based sort of diet as such.
Okay.
They don't want to give up the things they enjoy, and quite often this is just the fatty meats.
Alrighty.
How about that one? To go more green as opposed to more protein.
Sounds good.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, why would that be important?
Well, one of the reasons they're overweight is because they're eating the wrong composition in their foods.
Okay.
And longer term health, they need to fit more greens in.
Okay, what good things will happen when they change?
Okay, the good things that happen when they change.
More specific.
Yeah.
More specific than, healthy doesn't work for people.
Exactly. So specifically, once they start eating more greens, and it takes, in fairness, it does take some people several weeks, but once they do go more that way, they do start to have more energy. They start to feel better.
Great.
And because they're eating better, they start to train better, because they're now treating their body with more respect.
Great. So what happens if they don't change?
Okay, the more fatty foods you eat, the more you tend to want to eat fatty foods. And so over time, the more inactive you become because you're not properly fueling the body.
Good.
And so it's like a downward sort of spiral that you just month by month and year by year, you put on pound by pound, but over the years you've added quite a few pounds, and the longer you leave it, the harder it is to get back.
Mm-hmm. That's perfect. Now we have the positive motivation and the negative motivation, or default future. Next up, what new skills would they need to learn?
New skills. They need to know what is a good diet and what isn't.
Okay.
And that is confusing for a lot of people, in fairness, today, because they're being told so many different conflicting things.
I'll throw one in. How about cooking?
Good one. Cooking skills. So they need to know how, in the minimum time, to knock up a healthy meal for the family.
Mm-hmm. That sounds good. Social motivation. What would be an issue there?
That their immediate environment, the people they go to work with,
Yeah.
maybe it's not a big deal to them. Maybe they're quite happy where they are.
I'll throw in a couple.
Go on.
Going to parties.
Okay.
You're going out with friends in general.
Yeah. And particularly at the end of the summer, all the barbecues,
Mm-hmm.
beach parties.
Yeah, it's hard to stay away from meat. Alrighty, social ability. Just any example. Where would they go for help?
You join a very good health club. Let's find a top trainer in your area, or a qualified life or wellness coach.
Sounds good. All right, examples of environmental motivation.
To eat more greens as opposed to other sort of food. It may be even keeping healthy snacks in the car so that when you go shopping, you're not hungry. Because we both know the worst thing to do is go to the shops when you're hungry.
Yep. I'm guilty of that sometimes.
I've been there too. So that sometimes just in the glove compartment, just to have some healthy cereal bars, just to, before you go to the shops, then you got time to cook, then you eat properly.
Yes. Perfect. All set up.
Have you got one yourself to throw in, or how do we do with that?
Well, a good environmental motivation for a lot of people is just putting notes on the refrigerator.
Yeah. So in your house, Stephen, have you honestly got lots of little Post-its everywhere?
You know what? For some reason, I am anti-Post-it note.
Okay. So
I see how useful they are for other people, but they're just a little too geeky for me.
Yeah.
I'm not nearly as organized as most people think I am.
Really? No, but if you've got a nice home, you don't want lots of Post-its there anyway, do you? So it's just having it somewhere, isn't it? Like a written or visual reminder that even if it's...
Yeah.
Even if it's
again, you can use a fancy app on your phone if you want. You just need something somewhere to remind you to cover all 6.
Brilliant. Well, that's very useful, little exercise, isn't it? Because people can apply it to themselves.
Yes, you can use it for absolutely anything, as the name implies. It's great.
Nice. And it's very simple too, isn't it?
It's simple and it's flexible. Again, you want to turn bad days into good data. You just change your strategy without beating yourself up. If something didn't work, then you just change what you're doing. Don't dwell on it.
Brilliant. Yeah, nice exercise. Good. So should we just do a quick recap of everything we've spoken about for people listening?
Alrighty, sir.
Yeah. So your first point was to stay in bed for an extra 5 minutes. People shouldn't struggle too much with that one, should they?
No, they're already doing it, typically, dreading their day. All I'm asking you to do is think positively about your day.
Yeah. And then at some point during the day, and often it's lunchtime, just find at least 10 to 30 minutes for, if not meditation, self-reflection.
Yes, something relaxing for 10 minutes, and it actually makes you more productive. I know it sounds counterintuitive. Working does not work. You need a break.
And you need to learn to apply the word no appropriately.
Yeah, think about your values and do it with respect for other people's values, obviously, but you have to say no every once in a while.
And another tactic is just focusing on the common mission or vision that you share with other people. Just reminding them that you're both after the same objective.
Right.
And if that's the case, I'm sorry, but no, I can't do this because I'm already working towards this. Is another strategy to perhaps use there?
Right, and most people will understand that.
Yeah, it's like finding that common ground, isn't it? It's that bit in between. And then for the goal setting, it's just so important to really be aware of what your top values are.
Oh, I forgot my Gandhi quote. Happiness is when what you think, I know you know this one too, when what you think, what you say, and what you do are in harmony.
Excellent. And, it's called praxis too, isn't it? You've come across that word, Stephen?
Oh, yeah.
That now John Azaraf is using very, very
Yes.
well. He's called it praxis now. But it is that total alignment, isn't it? Thoughts, feelings, actions.
That's what keeps you happy. Anything else just makes you unhappy, whether you realize it or not.
Yeah. and that is your number one lesson. The reason why people have struggled before is because for whatever reason they're just out of alignment, but it is possible now, having listened to this, to get back in congruence.
Yes, please. Re-examine your values and look at your actions and see if they line up. In most cases, they don't. So do whatever you can to get them to line up, even if that means changing your values. Do whatever makes you happy. That's what's most important.
Yeah. And this time management, is this something you do with your clients on a regular basis?
It's something that I kind of have to do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's often
Again,
unspoken, isn't it?
Yeah,
But,
the biggest issue we have is people saying they don't have time.
Got it. So if people don't have time and they want to make time, where can they go for more information from yourself?
Right now, there's a coaching program at changeanything.com where you can sign up and work with me directly. And I don't have a link for it yet.
Okay.
I'll put it up on, let me call this up. The link I set up for you.
Okay.
StephenHoltFitness.com.
Okay.
/Noel.
And that's
N-O-E-L.
for
Yes, sir. And we'll have all the information you need.
Fantastic. And so what would that involve, Stephen? Just like an overview?
It'll involve me working with you to set up your 6 sources of influence and making sure you stay on track.
And is there a set time period that you take people through, or whatever it takes?
Whatever it takes.
Yeah, because everybody's different, yeah?
Yeah, I have an issue there. I get connected with people's goals, and I want to see them succeed regardless of what it takes.
Yeah, I'm sure.
From a business standpoint, I need to cut people off, but that's the way it goes.
Yeah. Excellent. So there you go. More in 24. You now know what you need to know about peak productivity. And if people go to StephenHoltFitness.com, and I've got to admit I haven't been there recently, but you've got a lot of information there anyway, just in general, Stephen, just on fitness and fat loss and...
Oh, yeah. We're up to 600 and something articles now.
Wow. Okay. And they're all free for anybody who visits that site?
Of course. Of course.
Fantastic. Okay. A parting message for anyone who's listening to this call? Like a theme or a quote you'd like to leave them with?
I gave all my good quotes already.
I don't believe that. I know you've got loads. Come on, you must have another Emerson quote or Gandhi quote in there.
No, not off the top of my head.
Stephen Covey?
Oh, don't get started with that now. About
Okay.
important verses. Oh, we could have gone for another 20 minutes on that stuff.
The 4 quadrants, you're not a fan?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, well, parting message? Yeah.
I like the Emerson one that I said earlier is perfect for this. What you do speaks so loudly, I cannot hear what you say. Back up what you say with what you are actually doing. So don't talk about something you want to do and then actually do stuff that takes you away from what you're saying you want to do.
And that's exactly what you've just outlined in this audio. That once you go through this process, you start to walk your talk.
Yes.
Perfect. We did well then.
Great.
Okay, Stephen. It's great talking to you, yeah? I really appreciate the time.
Yeah, my pleasure, Noel.
And you have a great day, yeah?
Yeah, perfect. You too.